Hello and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Marin and here you will find a little beauty, a little books, and a little teaching content. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around and join me in my little corner of YouTube. Today's video is going to be a combo mid-year reading recap-ish and also my September TBR. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the last time I played my Wheel of TBR game was in June. I took July and August off and I had every intention of bringing it back in September. However, I did very little reading in July and August to the point where I am super behind on a lot of my reading goals that I wanted to achieve in 2024. So instead of adding more books to an already ridiculous TBR, I am not going to be playing my Wheel of TBR this month. Instead, I am going to take you through all of the books that I need to attempt to read this month to kind of get myself back on track in some cases, because some of these goals I don't think I'm going to be able to achieve, but obviously the year's not over yet, but we only have 4 months left. So I'm going to do this in the form of taking you through the 7 or 8-ish goals that I had set for myself at the start of the year. I am going to link you to my 2024 goals video up in the cards, but I am only focusing in this video on the book goals. So let's just kind of dive on into those. So first of all, I had a goal to read 100 books in 2024. I am currently at 61 books read, and according to Goodreads, that puts me 5 books behind the pace that I would need to be at to hit the goal of 100. I do still think I will hit 100 books, but I am behind, as I mentioned, because in July I only read 2 books and I DNF'd both of them. And in August I only read 4 books. So significantly behind my usual pace. Hopefully that will pick up in September. Goal number 2 was to complete my 24 in 2024 list. At the time of filming this, I have read 12 of the 24 books, which means I am, once again, behind the pace. And I have 12 books remaining to read before the end of the year. You're gonna see a number of these books on September's TBR here in just a little bit because I do need to try to catch up. Goal number 3 was to read at least 6 classics during the course of the year. Currently, I have read 4 of them. I have 2 or 3 on my TBR for September, but we'll talk about that more when we get there. That one I do believe I will reach, so I'm not stressed about it. Goal number 4 was to read at least 6 nonfiction books, and I have actually completed this. I have actually read 9 nonfiction books this year. However, I do still have some books that I was hoping to read this year that I'm going to be sprinkling in throughout the remaining 4 months of 2024. Goal number 5 was to continue my monthly reread of the Nancy Drew series. I have read through number 29, but I am supposed to be at number 31 at this point. So I am 3 books behind schedule. I want to read through number 36 by the end of the year to put me at that 1 book per month, 12 books per year goal. So definitely behind on this one. Goal number 6 was to complete at least 12 series, and y'all, I have not done well on this at all. I have currently completed 3 series this year. I am up to date on 2 series, and I need to finish 9 more series before the end of the year to reach that complete 12 series goal. I don't think it's gonna happen. We're gonna have to see how it goes. I do have some series books on my September TBR, but I'm not holding out too much hope on this one, to be honest. Goal number 7 was to actually read my self-destruct books. I did a whole video. I'll link it up above in the cards. I have not touched those. I have read a grand total of 0 of those self-destruct books. So I think I'm gonna shelve that project and try to incorporate those books into some reading plans for next year. This just didn't work out for me, and I'm okay with that. And finally, goal number 8 was to end 2024 by reading 75% of all of the new books that I picked up this year. Definitely not anywhere close to that. Not going to be by the end of the year. This was another one that I was basically swinging for the fences, and there's no way I'm going to meet this goal. So I'm going to shelve this one as well, and we will just focus on the other 6 goals to see if I can't maybe get those done by the end of the year. Okay, with the goals out of the way, let's now talk about the books that I am hoping to get to in the month of September. I have divided this TBR into those same categories that my goals were in, so let's go ahead and start with books from my 24 and 2024 list. So I am currently 2 months behind on this list. So I've got a stack of 6 books, and we're just gonna kind of go through them. So starting with July, I am adding Stepsister by Jennifer Donnelly onto my September TBR. I am really looking forward to this. I have read, I believe, 2 books by Jennifer Donnelly and really enjoyed both of them, so I'm curious to see her take on this. Obviously, it is a Cinderella retelling, so I'm looking forward to reading this. This will be the first book from my 24 and 2024 list on my September TBR. The next book from my 24 and 2024 is Brightly Woven by Alexandra Bracken. I heard really good things about this back when The Darkest Mind series was being released. A lot of people read like her backlist, and this one got quite a lot of praise, so I'm very excited to finally give this one a read, hopefully in September. Okay, moving on to books that I wanted to read in August and didn't get to. The first one is Tamar by Mal Peet. I believe this is, this is a World War II related book. It says, in the terrible hunger winter of 1944, 2 undercover operatives parachute into Nazi-occupied Holland. They are spies for the Allied forces sent to provide support for the Dutch resistance movement. I was supposed to read this actually in grad school back in probably 2011, 2012, and didn't manage to get it read. My classmates loved it, so I'm very excited to finally read this one. It is kind of lengthy, and it's got pretty small font, but I would really love to get this read in September and check this one off my list. The next book is another historical fiction. This is The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. I have read 3 books by this author, given all 3 of them 5 stars, so I'm really expecting quite a lot from this one as well. This one is set in Madrid, 1957, under the oppressive dictatorship of General Francisco Franco. So yes, this is another one. Again, it's chunky, but I've loved everything I've read by her, so I have very high hopes for this one. And moving into September, I have Wildwood Dancing by Juliette Marillier. I've heard good things about her writing in general. I've never read anything by her. This one has been on my TBR since January of 2012, so I'm really hoping that I can cross that one off this month. And the last book from my 24 and 2024 is actually my buzzword pick for this month too, so I will talk about that when we get to the buzzword list, but that is Eyewitness Auschwitz, 3 Years in the Gas Chambers by Philip Mueller. This one's been on my shelf for a very long time, again, probably since January of 2012 or something like that. I purchased this from the bookstore. I have read quite a lot of personal accounts of people in concentration camps, so I'm curious to see how this one compares to some of the other ones that I have read. So that is the last book from my 24 and 2024 list that I'm hoping to read in September. At least this one is shorter. Next on the list are classics, and if I get both of these read, I will have achieved that goal of reading 6 classics in 2024, although there are other classics that I want to get to this year. So let's talk about The Elephant in the Room, this book that has been hanging around literally since March, which is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I have started listening to the audio of this one, and I'm currently on chapter 5, so I haven't gotten very far, page 46. The audio is actually a full cast, like dramatization, which means it is abridged. Am I counting that as reading this book? Absolutely. I'd forgotten that I'd picked that up from Audible several years ago, and so far I'm really enjoying the way that the production has been put together. They have different voices for all of the characters. They have a main narrator who's doing a lot of like the regular reading of the book, and then they have other characters who are speaking the dialogue. They've got music in the background, sound effects. I'm really enjoying it so far, and I feel like that's going to be the best way for me to get through this, because this one is lengthy. Now, don't come for me. Obviously, listening to an abridged version of a book means that I'm not finishing the entire book, but we're counting this because if you have been following along with my feelings on Little Women, you already know that I DNF'd this once before. So we're gonna go with that dramatized version of the audiobook and count this as done. I'm hoping I can get it done within the next few days. It's only like a 7-hour long audio, so should be doable. But yes, this one should finally get off of my TBR this month. The next classic is actually on my list for either September or October. I feel like it would be a good book for spooky season, but I'm gonna mention it here just in case I get to it, and that is The Picture of Dorian Gray. I love these Penguin cloth-bound classics. Little Women was in the same style, and I'm really looking forward to reading this. Now, I found an audio version of this that is like the uncensored version, which I wasn't aware that this book had been censored. But when it was first published, the publisher was concerned about some of the content in the story and cut it out of the book. This unabridged audio includes that, so it's not going to be this actual text. It's going to be the full original story, and I'm looking forward to listening to that, reading this book. I've heard good things about it, so hopefully I enjoy this, but you might see this in October instead, because it does definitely fit with like the spooky vibe. Now let's talk about nonfiction. You definitely saw this one on my June TBR. That one is The Radium Girls by Kate Moore. I am really looking forward to reading this. I just didn't have the mental capacity after my ankle surgery to do much of any reading, even though I feel like I have heard that this one reads kind of as like a fiction book, so it should be a pretty quick read. I just could not do it, y'all. Reading was just not happening. So this one is from May and June. I am hoping that I can get it read in September to check it off my list. The next nonfiction book is called The Color of Law. This is by Richard Rothstein. It says, a forgotten history of how our government segregated America. A friend of mine read this, really enjoyed it, and I have wanted to read it for a really long time. This was actually my nonfiction pick for the months of July and August, so again, I am behind, but I am planning on getting to this one this month. There is an audio version of it, which should help a little bit, so hopefully I can cross this one off as well. The final nonfiction book is actually my pick for September and October, so I don't necessarily have to get to it this month because I do have another month to read it, but that is Blood at the Root, A Racial Cleansing in America by Patrick Phillips. This one talks about the racial cleansing in Forsyth County, Georgia, and it takes place in September 1912, so definitely going to be a hard-hitting book. It says it's told in kind of a more fictional style again, so in terms of the ease of reading, in terms of the words that are used, I feel like it might be pretty quick, but definitely some dark topics, and I'm looking forward to reading this one. It has a good rating on Goodreads, 4.31, and I'm looking forward to giving it a read, even though it's definitely going to be a harder hitting book and probably tough to read in terms of the content. Next up are the Nancy Drew books. As I mentioned, I am 3 books behind schedule. So I need to read number 30, which is The Clue of the Velvet Mask. Number 31, which is The Ringmaster's Secret. Number 32, which is The Scarlet Slipper Mystery. And number 33, which is the book that I am supposed to read in September, and that is The Witch Tree Symbol. So hopefully I can get all 4 of these read. I can get through these pretty quick. It's just a matter of sitting down and actually doing the reading. So we'll see how that goes. Now let's chat about series books. In September, actually starting tomorrow, Steph from Steph Loves is running her next round of the Final Book Support Group, which is a readathon, if you will, that focuses on series books. So ideally, I will be able to get all 3 of these done during that week. Let's cross our fingers, because 2 of them will finish off series from my 2024 series TBR. So I have Spellbound by Rachel Hawkins. This is the 3rd and final book in her Hex Hall series. This one's pretty short. I've gotten through the other 2 very, very quickly. So I should be able to get this done, hopefully in a single sitting. I'm hoping to read this one tomorrow. It is Labor Day. I am off work. So hopefully this one will be done then. This was on my June TBR and I have not yet read it. The next one is another final book in a series. It is In the Afterlight by Alexandra Bracken. This is the 3rd and final book in her Darkest Minds series. Now there is a 4th book in this series and also in this series, but they are spin-offs, so I'm not counting them in terms of completing the series because I personally don't feel like they count. These were initially supposed to be trilogies, so I'm stopping with the trilogy, but this will finish off this series. This one's chunky, so was the second one, but I got through it pretty quickly nonetheless. I am very curious to see how the series is going to wrap up and finally check it off my list. And the last series book that I am hoping to get to this week, ideally, is Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. This is book 2 in her Red Queen series. I read Red Queen months ago and was really hoping to like get into the second one much faster. It just didn't happen, so hopefully I can get this done again this week. I do have audiobooks for both In the Afterlight and Glass Sword, so I should be able to listen to one on audio while I read the other one physically and get them both done. But this one has, I believe, 5 books in the series, so I really need to get cranking on this one to make sure that I get it done before the end of the year. I enjoyed my reread of Red Queen a lot more than I did my initial reading, so I'm hoping that I will like this one as well. Now let's move on to the buzzword challenge. So the buzzword for July was measurement, and for that I was planning on reading The Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. The audio for this one expired before I got it done, so I need to check it back out from the library and finish it off. I only got, I think, like 80 pages into the book, so didn't get very far at all. Really wasn't necessarily enjoying it, but that was also during a period of time where I wasn't enjoying anything that I was reading, so I'm not going to necessarily say that I won't like the book, but I am a little more cautious with my expectations just based on my feelings for that first 80 pages. The buzzword for August was the word like in the title, and I actually had initially chosen a different book to read for that, but instead I am going to be reading Murder Most Unladylike because this was on my June TBR and I haven't gotten it read. I did start this yesterday. I'm currently right here on page 33. This should be able to be done today, ideally, so I can cross this off my list pretty quickly. And the buzzword for September has to do with the 5 senses. So I mentioned this one earlier, but I will be reading Eyewitness Auschwitz for this one. And again, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, if you will. All right, y'all, I'm almost done. The last group of books that I need to read in September are the Literally Dead book club picks for July, August, and September. So in July, I was supposed to read, again, The Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. I already talked about that one. Once that hold comes in, I should be able to get that done pretty quickly. August pick for the Literally Dead book club was I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. I found the audio of this on Everand, so that's how I'm going to get this one read. I don't think it's a super long book. Hopefully I'll be able to get through it pretty quickly. I've heard very mixed things about it, so we'll see what I think. And September's pick I am super excited about because this was actually a book of the month pick. This book came out in July, and I picked it up from Book of the Month. It is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I've heard good things about it. It sounds really, really good. And I'm looking forward to reading this one and actually getting a Book of the Month book read in a more timely fashion because I am not great about that. So this is the last book added to September's TBR. So if we add all of those books up, it comes out to 21 books. I will be shocked if I can actually get that many books read in a month. I don't think I've ever read that many books in a month, so yeah, wish me luck, because I'm not sure that this is doable at all. And that is not even counting the 2 that I mentioned were for September and October. So that would bring it up to 23. Yikes. Okay, so anyway, wish me luck. We'll cross our fingers right now, but I am planning on doing weekly reading vlogs to kind of keep myself more on track with my reading this month, and hope that that will inspire me to actually read books. What a shocker. So the first vlog that's going to come out is going to be for the Final Book Support Group. That's where I'm going to be reading those series books. Those for sure I know will get done. The rest of these, we're just gonna have to see how it goes. So stay tuned for those vlogs. That will give you an idea of how my reading is going. If you ever read any of these books, let me know down below which ones you liked or didn't. And that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this very long look at my September TBR. If you enjoyed, please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more from me. And I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.